So let me ask you something. Have you ever been looking for something and you just keep checking the easiest spot, even though you have this gut feeling it's probably somewhere else? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, that little habit, it actually has a name and a pretty good story behind it. It's called the Streetlight Effect.
Just take a look at this. You've got this one single light just cutting through all that darkness. It's like a little pool of clarity in this big ocean of uncertainty, right? It feels safe. It feels manageable. But here's the million-dollar question. What happens when the thing you're desperately looking for isn't actually in the light?
Oh yeah, we have all done this. Think about it. You've lost your phone. Where's the first place you look? Maybe your coat pocket. And you check it again and again. Not because you really think it's there, but, because it's just easy. It's right there. Well, that very simple, very human habit, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. All right, so to really get this concept, we need to start with a classic story. It's a bit of a joke, really. It's often called the Drunkard's search. So the story goes like this. It's late at night, and there's a guy on his hands and knees frantically searching for something on the pavement right under a streetlight. A police officer on his beat sees him and, wanders over to see what's going on, maybe lend a hand. The officer asks him what he's lost, and the man says, "My keys." That familiar, frustrating feeling, right? So the cop, being a good guy, he gets down and starts searching too. The two of them are just scouring every inch of that little circle of light on the ground. So after a few minutes of this, they've looked everywhere the light touches, right under the post, around the edges, back and forth. Nothing. The officer is starting to get a little suspicious, kind of thinking they might be wasting their time here. So he finally asks the guy, "Are you absolutely sure you lost them right here?" And the man replies, "Oh no, I lost them in the park, but this is where the light is." And boom, there it is. That's the punchline. He's not searching where he lost his keys, he's searching where it's easy to look. That one single, kind of absurd line, it just perfectly captures a huge bias in how we all think. Okay, so that story, it's more than just a silly joke, right? It's basically a parable for a very real cognitive bias, one that, fittingly enough, got its name from this exact scenario. And here it is, the streetlight effect. It's our natural tendency to look for things not where they're most likely to be, but where it's, easiest to look. We stick to that comfortable, illuminated patch of ground even when we have a sneaking suspicion that the real answer is lurking out there, somewhere in the dark. Now, what I think is so interesting about this whole thing is that while the joke about the drunk guy and the streetlight feels pretty modern, the actual idea behind it, it's ancient. Yeah, seriously. Versions of this exact story have been told for centuries, long before there were even streetlights. One of the most famous early versions features a character from Middle Eastern folklore named Nasruddin. He's this great, wise fool character, and his stories always have a much deeper meaning. And when you put the two stories side by side, it's pretty amazing. The modern guy loses his keys in a dark park. Nasruddin loses a ring in a dark room. The modern guy searches under the streetlight. Nasruddin searches out in the sunny yard. The reason? This is where the light is. The details are different, sure, but the flawed human logic, it's exactly the same. It tells you something really timeless about us. Okay, so how does an old joke, an ancient piece of folklore, become a serious concept in fields like science and economics? Well, that leap happened in the 20th century when the story got an official name and a modern application. The turning point was in 1964. A philosopher named Abraham Kaplan was the one who applied it to the social sciences, and he called it the principle of the drunkard's search. See, Kaplan realized that scientists and researchers can act just like the guy in the story. They often gravitate towards the data that's easy to collect or the methods that are familiar, even if those aren't the right tools for finding the real answers. And trust me, this bias pops up absolutely everywhere. In social sciences, scientific research, economics, you name it. Think about it. An economist might build a really complex model using only data that's easy to measure, like GDP. But what about things that are harder to put a number on, like, say, a nation's happiness or well-being? Those get ignored. Why? Because they're in the dark. They're searching where the light is, where the easy numbers are, not where the full picture of human life really is. And that's a huge risk, because we end up misunderstanding the world. There's a fantastic quote from Noam Chomsky that really just nails this idea. He says, "Science is a bit like the joke about the drunk who is looking under a lamppost for a key that he has lost on the other side of the street because that's where the light is. It has no other choice." Wow. He's suggesting that sometimes science is literally forced to search under the streetlight. We can only work with the tools and data we have available.
It's a pretty humbling thought that even our most serious hunt for knowledge can be trapped by this simple human bias.
So what does this all mean for us? What's the takeaway? How do we use this idea in our own lives, in our own thinking? Well, here's the bottom line. The risk is pretty clear. When you're searching under the streetlight, it feels productive. You feel busy, you're gathering information, you might even find an answer. But it's probably not the right answer. The real danger is convincing yourself that the easy answer you found in the light is the true one, while the real key is still lost out there in the dark. And that really brings us to the final, and I think most important question, one for you to think about. Where are your streetlights? Seriously, in your job, in your relationships, in the way you try to understand the world, where are you only looking because that's where the light is? What dark parts are you avoiding? And where crucial, important truths might be hiding out there, just waiting for you to be brave enough to look?